Midterm 2 is happening tomorrow. 61A's first open interpreter exam. And I've just posted the Midterm 2 proctoring information that tells you how we're going to proctor you, even though you're all over the globe. I don't expect you to cheat, but I know that it can be comforting knowing that nobody else is cheating, and so that's why we proctor. Just so that you know that the right thing to do is just focus on your own work and not try to communicate with any other students. Here's how we're going to do it. We tried to get Zoom proctoring to work, which is what I had announced we were going to use, but it doesn't work. Inside of a Zoom session, only a couple of people can share their screens at the same time before stuff starts to crash. So instead of Zoom, we're going to use Loom. Here's what you need to know. This is a computer-based exam. You can use all the content on cs61a.org, including lecture slides, past exams, whatever you want. If you find a way to get to Google search or Stack Overflow from 61a.org, that does not mean you can use Stack Overflow. Just use all the course content and nothing else. You can use Python Tutor, but you cannot use the Get Live Help feature to get live help. You can only use it to draw environment diagrams. You can use okpie.org to view your own past work. You can use the Midterm 1 and Midterm 2 study guides that we've released. And you can use Piazza as a read-only resource. You cannot make public posts during the exam, but you can read the posts that were already there. You're also allowed 2 sheets of notes that you create yourself, either on paper or on the computer that you're using to take the exam. I recommend printing these out or writing them by hand, but if you don't have a printer and you really don't want to write by hand, you can write notes in a Word document or something. That's fine too. But it's got to be down to 2 pages. You can't refer to all your old notes. You have to condense that down to 2 sheets of, human legible paper. During the exam, you can use any text editor or any integrated development environment, IDE, of your choosing. If you don't know what an IDE is, that's fine. It's just a fancy term for text editor, and any text editor is going to do the trick. If your editor has some fancy communication or web browsing capability, you cannot use that. You can also use a terminal with a Python interpreter. That's where you'd run OK or run Python. Instructions for downloading the exam files will appear on Piazza when the exam begins. Okay, on to proctoring. We tried many different solutions, and only one of them worked reliably. In fact, with this one, every time I asked a staff member to try it out, they got it right the first time. So hopefully that will be true for you as well. We're going to use a commercial product called Loom, which does screen recording over browsers. It's pretty easy to use. You install a Chrome extension, and then you'll have a Loom screen recording button integrated into Chrome. You click on the loom.com download link. It's going to try to get you to install their desktop application, but I've never tried that. I always just add it to Chrome because that's so easy. Click on the link and you'll be brought to the Loom for Chrome extension, very highly reviewed. Add that to Chrome and it will be able to see everything that you do because it's a screen recording app. You can certainly uninstall it right after the exam is over if that's what you'd like to do. Now installation is done and I see this new button up here. It doesn't work on this screen, so don't click it on this screen or you'll just see loading forever and think that it's broken. But it's not broken. You just have to go to a regular web page, such as cs61a.org, in order to get it to work. And from here, you can start a new screen recording session. If it asks you to log in at any time, I'd recommend using your berkeley.edu Google account, but you can really use any Google account that you want, and it should work fine. And then you can start a recording. You need to record your entire screen so we can see what's going on in your screen. The recording that you'll send us is exactly what you're seeing here, which is that there's your desktop and also your webcam. And when you finish recording, then you'll get this link, which you'll share with us, and we'll have access to what was going on during your exam. Okay, now that Loom is set up, there's some more details. When it's time to take the exam, ensure that a clock is displayed on your screen at all times. Go to cs61a.org and start a Loom recording session that's screen plus camera of your full desktop. Open Piazza in a separate tab. Open the Midterm 2 Announcements audio live stream, which will go live at 7 o'clock at the exam day. Open a text editor of your choice in a terminal window, but try to arrange them so they do not block your camera image. If I start a Loom session, here we go. I'm going to share my entire screen. It's okay to hide this, but it's not okay to hide my face. So for example, if I start working here, I've hidden my face, and that means that in the recording, the staff won't be able to see what you're up to or your stylish hair. So just go ahead and move your working space over enough that your image still appears on the screen. And that's not just true of the terminal, it's true also of your editor. So if you start working on the midterm, and that takes up the whole screen, you're doing it wrong. Instead, set it up so that it just takes up enough space that I can still see your face. And then you can go ahead and solve the midterm. Oh, I'm not supposed to show you the exam yet. My bad. Now, moving from tab to tab within Chrome is no problem, because your face will move with you. Sometimes it takes a moment to load, but there it is again. You can know whether you're blocking the image from your camera if you can't see that image yourself, then you're blocking it. So move windows until you're smiling back at yourself, and then continue with your exam. During the exam, we will run an audio-only live stream where I will be giving you instructions. Those instructions will also be posted on Piazza if you'd rather read them, but I recommend joining the audio live stream if you can, so that if I have something important to say, you can hear me say it. You may not communicate about the exam with anyone except via private posts on Piazza, and you may not use other devices except for the computer that you're recording. Because if you use another device, I won't know what you're doing there. If you have notes that are created on an iPad, just transfer them over to the computer that you're going to use to take the exam. During the exam, you may ask questions as private posts on Piazza. No public posting, please. Just make a private post. If you don't know how to do that, go practice right now. A private post will be visible to the staff, and if we think your question is so good that we want everybody to hear the answer, we will post a public clarification on Piazza. Important clarifications will also be announced on the audio live stream so that you know about them right away. And at the end of each part of the exam, you will submit your work just like it was a homework or a lab using Python 3 OK-submit. Then you will end your screen recording by clicking that little green check mark or by clicking on this button to end the recording. And you will submit a link to us via a Google form that's posted on Piazza. Don't screw up the screen recording or we may not count your exam. If you have a problem, you can always make a private post. What if you don't have a webcam? You can still use Loom to record your screen, and we will have a Zoom session where we can look at your face. But I think this will only apply to a handful of students, as most people seem to have webcams these days. If you have more questions, let me know, but I think this covers most of the ones we've gotten so far. So now you know the rules and proctoring information. What about the midterm itself? We're going to run an optional Midterm 2 technology test 1 hour before the exam, where you can join the live stream and make sure it works at 6 p.m. You can start a Loom session in order to get recording working. You can download a test exam, meaning it's not really an exam, it's just a test file, starting at 6:10 p.m. And you can submit it immediately, along with your screen recording, and will be done by 6:15 p.m., at which point you can go have dinner or whatever before the midterm starts. So if you'd like to test this whole process out with us, this is optional, but might give you some comfort that all the technology is going to work, and you won't have to try to figure it out as you're taking the exam because you'll have done it an hour before. The exam itself starts at 7:10 p.m., but the live stream with instructions will start at 7 p.m. If you don't make it at 7 p.m., all those instructions will also be on Piazza. start a Loom screen plus camera full desktop recording before 7:10 p.m. We will then release instructions for how to get to your exam at 7:10 p.m. on Piazza. The midterm is going to have 3 sections that last 22 minutes each, with a 3-minute break in between each section. Those sections will start at 7:10, 7:35, and 8 p.m. For each part of the exam, you will download exam files that have a similar format to a lab or homework, including OK, which you will use to run tests or to make submissions. All questions will appear in .py files along with the doc tests and templates for the exam, so that Python files are the only things that you need to read and edit. You may submit each section as many times as you want during the section time, but once 7:32 rolls around, you can't submit section 1 work anymore. It's time to take a break, and then at 7:35, section 2 will be released. If you're worried that you're going to run out of time and not notice, don't worry, because if you're subscribed to the audio live stream, I will tell you when time is about to run out, and then you can submit. You can only work on the current section. Once section 1 is done, you gotta work on section 2, and you can't go back and work on earlier sections. Remember, if this all sounds too complicated, you got too much stuff going on in your life, it's not going to hurt you on average to skip this exam. I know it's a chaotic period in the world, and that lots of you are trying to move at the same time that this exam is scheduled. So if you cannot take the exam or wish to be excused due to other complications, please fill out the Midterm 2 excuse request form. I've extended that deadline till tomorrow morning, giving you the maximum possible amount of time. Most students are taking this exam, but lots of them aren't. It's really your call. So let me know if you want to be excused, and being excused shouldn't, on average, help or hurt your final grade in the course. All reviewed requests, meaning ones that I've read, have been granted so far. Okay, you'll hear from me tomorrow when you join the announcements live stream.